Hey strangers, Angie here. Now, last video I told you that I was going to give you a little bit of insight on how to be productive whilst having depression. And finally, here's the video. I don't really like long intros, so I'm not going to torture you further. Let's start with tip number 1, and that is feeding your depression. Now, you're probably sitting there wondering, what do you mean by feeding my depression? It's not like it's an animal or something.
Actually, it is, and it lives inside of you. I'm telling you. Cut that out, cameraman.
What I mean by feeding your depression is there's different ways that you can feed your depression, whether it be not opening the blinds or staying in bed all day or watching a sad movie or looking at social media if you know that it affects you negatively when you're looking at yourself. Just all those different things that carry on that depression, carry on those deep feelings that you're feeling inside where you're telling yourself, oh, you're not good enough, oh, you're never going to be successful, stay in bed all day, oh, no one wants to hang out with you, no one loves you, all those things that are going through your head right now. You don't want to do actions that continuously feed them. And there's small little actions that we don't notice, but they actually do have an effect on us. So for example, me, when I get depressed, I kind of sit alone in my room all day in the dark like a vampire and kind of hate on myself, basically. Telling myself that I'm never going to be good enough, telling myself that no one loves me, that people are mad at me, that I'm not doing a good job at work. Just all these annoying thoughts that are continuously going through my head. So basically, you kind of want to filter out what kind of environment you're putting yourself into, what you're subconsciously listening to or watching that can negatively affect you. So the point of this is doing everything that you can to get motivation to get out of that headspace. And that's where opening the blinds saying comes from. Because for me, I like to be a vampire, so opening the blinds kind of stops that, puts me in place. Now we're moving on to step 2. This is going to sound a little bit cliche and maybe even redundant, but it's very, very important. And this one is routines.
I hate routines. If you're like me and you're a type B person and you're just like, ah.
Routines are good for people who are struggling with depression. And I'll tell you why. So when you're struggling with depression, you're not a celebrity, right? I mean, you could be watching this and you could be a celebrity or have a bunch of money or whatever. But let's just say you're not and you're a normal person like me, struggling. So you're already struggling with depression, but you can't just put your life on hold, right? You have responsibilities, you have things that you need to do and get done. You can't just sit there in your bed and feel sorry for yourself.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
So you kind of put yourself into this kind of auto drive moment. So if you have a routine where you're waking up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day, and doing those same things like getting up, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, it makes it a little bit easier. It's not going to completely stop you from laying in bed and not doing any of those things or doing anything that you need to get done, but it will help and it will ease because your body is going into this auto drive doing everything that you usually do every single day. Now, when you're trying to write a to-do list of what you need to get done, if you're like me, you get a little bit of anxiety and you start thinking like, oh, not just about what you need to get done in the next hour or for that day. You start thinking what you need to get
Done in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And you get a bunch of anxiety and you just don't want to do anything.
Short list with realistic goals is your solution. Now, I know you heard of the term SMART goals and blah, blah, blah. This is basically the same thing, but it's actually really useful. So when you're trying to get stuff done, and you're writing down your to-do list, don't think about what you need to get done in the next 2 weeks or a week or whatever. Think about what you need to get done in the next hour. That's going to help you kind of achieve things more, as well as creating some type of reward system that works for you. For example, so when I was in university, I created this sort of reward system for myself. First, I wrote a list down of things that I need to get done that were important, and then things that were really important, and then within those lists I wrote what takes a short amount of time, what takes a long time. So I would always start with the short list. I know people say, oh, start with the hardest thing first, but after I did the hardest thing I would get so tired and worn out that I would just go to sleep. So for me, I start with the short list first, and I start checking off those little teams, those little boxes and everything, and I start feeling good and I'm like, yes, I'm getting so and so done. Increase your confidence, boost it up, and then hit over that big list. See how she's doing. Tackle one of those, check off that box, and then you feel great. whenever I would do something that was on the big list, I would reward myself. Now, it's kind of hard, especially if you're in the type of depression where you're not enjoying things as much as you used to. Well, it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but try to find anything that makes you go, oh, that's nice. It doesn't have to be, oh, amazing, but oh, that's nice. For me, that was ice cream or pizza rolls. Step number 3, stop failing before you even begin. So we all know that things are never going to work out the way we want them to. They don't. We create these plans and we have these expectations and it always falls short. Now, I'm not telling you to set your expectations and your bars super, super low. What I'm trying to say is stop being so hard on yourself, because it's only going to make your depression worse. So rather than focusing on the negative, try focusing on I did my best instead of I could have done better. This is going to help you out so much while you're trying to be productive and while you're trying to get things done. Because when you do finally put that effort forward, so you say, write the essay, and you turn it in and say at school you got a B or C, and you're upset. Like, oh, I should have got an A. Like, honey, you're already like at a disadvantage because you're dealing with old Patricia over here that's always making you sad. Like, you passed, you got a B, you got a C, whatever. Like, you did a good job.
Good job! Good job!
The point is to keep going. You're never gonna be perfect, but focusing on I did my best instead of I could have done better will take you further. Now, step number 4. Step number 4 is really important, and it's time management. So for people who are struggling with depression, naturally are always feel fatigued, low energy. Every small task seems like lifting a huge boulder. So if you're in school and you have your syllabus and a bunch of stuff that you need to get done, those lists that I referred to earlier are going to help you, right? But while you're tackling the list, when you're looking at the ones that are going to take a long time, so say a project, studying for a test, or whatever it may be, you want to start doing that 2 weeks in advance or a week in advance to set yourself up for success when you have those days. Say, oh, I'm gonna start studying 2 weeks before for this exam, right? So start studying one day, start studying the next day. Oh, I forgot to take my medicine. I'm just having a bad day. I'm just really not feeling it. Well, I can actually afford to take that day off and not study because I've been studying well in advance. You're giving yourself an opportunity to have those bad days and for it to not affect you. That's the key, setting yourself up for success and planning ahead. And for people who are at work, it's the same thing. Number 5 is know when to give yourself a break. Like I was saying earlier, we're already having low energy and fatigue and, constantly beating ourselves up on the daily. Know when to give yourself a break. Know when, you know what, it's okay for me to not be okay and to be upset and to lay in bed all day and not talk to anybody. It's okay for me to have the blinds closed today because I just need that today to feel better for tomorrow. And you're going through a lot right now. It's definitely not easy dealing with this type of depression and constantly having to live your life with dirty old Patricia by your side. So you just have to make the most of it. Now, step number 6. All of them are important, but another thing that is important is your sleep schedule. So what you need to do is first figure out what appropriate amount of time do you need to sleep for you to feel good. For me, the earlier I wake up, the better I feel. So I started noticing when I sleep less, I feel better. And what I was doing is I was sleeping too much to where when I woke up, I didn't feel good. I felt fatigued and didn't really wake up in the best moods and just didn't really put me in the best state when I woke up and I slept for long periods of time. Now, sleeping is an easy coping mechanism. It really is. When you're not having a good day, you're just like, well, I'll just sleep it off and then I won't be thinking about anything. And it kind of helps with you dealing with emotions. But if you keep doing that, you're never going to learn how to face your emotions head on. You're always just going to use sleep to just cope with it and deal with it. Actually not deal with it. And you're never going to learn how to compartmentalize your emotions of when you need to get stuff done. Like, look, I know I'm feeling this way right now, but I'm going to put this aside because I need to get this project done. That's a skill that a lot of people do not have. And it's a skill that anybody can have. You just have to practice and you have to work on it. Now, for the people who have insomnia that's related to depression, your job is to figure out what you need to do to fall asleep. Whether it's putting your phone away 2 hours before, doing meditation, taking insomnia medication. Make sure you talk to your doctor about that before you start doing that. But if you start feeling better that's when you have more energy. That's when you notice you're able to get more things done. And that's the goal. That's the goal of this video, is to work on productivity. You can't fix that without working on feeling better yourself. Step number 8. Step number 8 is boundaries. I'm just kidding. Boundaries. So, I'm the type of person that likes to say yes. I'm a yes person. People ask me to do things, I say, yeah, I'll do it. People ask for a favor, I'm like, yeah, of course. And I keep saying yes, even when I'm not in the mental state and have the mental capacity to get what I need to get done for myself, along with get what they need to get done. So this one's about being comfortable with saying no. Being comfortable with not adding too many things onto your plate where you start feeling overwhelmed and you start getting anxious about things. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. And on another side of that, looking at a different perspective on boundaries, make sure that the people around you know your boundaries when it comes to your depression. So I know for some people, they hate it when people ask if they've taken their medication that day. They see it as an insult, and they just think that that person's looking at them like they're crazy, like, oh, did you take your medication? Some people are fine with it, and they're like, you know what, I don't know if I did actually, thanks. But everyone's different, so it's all about kind of finding that middle ground of what works for you personally, and that goes into boundaries too. That's just a little side note, just a little tip. Try not to let your depression get debilitating, or it's carrying on. If you find yourself to where you can't even wake up in the morning and like get out of bed, no matter what, you can't do the simple task of eating at all in a day. If you can't find the energy to go to work even, or go to a class, that's totally different. That's when your depression becomes debilitating, and it's going to really impact you in your life, in your future. And that's when you need to immediately consult with the doctor. Check and see if your medication is the right dosage for you. Schedule more appointments with your psychiatrist. If you need to, withdraw and take a break from university and go back the next semester. Or if you can, take a little bit of vacation time to get back on track. And that finally leads me to step 10. And that's being self-aware. Now the thing is, everyone's different. This is true. When I start struggling with depression, I get in this bad funk of where I withdraw. I withdraw from everybody, everything. I don't talk to people. You don't see me at social events. I hardly come out of my room. And these are all cues and signs for me. But I've gotten to the point where I started to write them down, and other people started to write them down and take notice of when these things start appearing so we can stop it, or take action when they start to see these cues, or when they start to see these signs that I'm giving off. That way you can have your support team to kind of get you back on track. Like I said earlier, depression's hard. It kind of just slowly creeps in, and you don't even notice that it's there, and the next thing you know, it's like you're in your bed all day. You need to learn more about depression itself and what it means for you, so you can avoid that and put these steps in place to help you from getting back into that cycle. While all the things that I've listed and all the steps that I've listed are things that could possibly help you, they may not, they may work for the next person and not you, and that's okay. But this is giving you some sort of idea on what to look for and how to start researching a little bit more about yourself. You might find an alternative that works for you, and if you do, please share it with the rest of us, because we're all struggling. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist. Everything that I give advice on and say may not work for you, but may work for the next person. And my point of these videos are to try to help somebody out there, give somebody hope to get through life, because I know it's really hard. And with that, that is the end of my video. I'll see you guys next time. I have a few ideas for the next video, but you'll find out in the next video. So stay tuned, and this is Angie signing off.